What we're going to look at now is the root logger. Root logger basically sends that by default info high level logs to the console and file handler. Here if I go to the management console under the profile root logger, I can see the root logger is configured with the handlers file. And if you actually go to the console configuration here, you can notice here root logger level name info, handlers, console and file, sending it to the both of them. Now you can able to, part of the starting of JBoss, you can able to modify the root logger system property, or you can able to specify this root logger level anytime you like. For example, in the CLI way, you can actually use the CLI, as you can see here, profile default subsystem logging root logger, which is by default called root, and colon. I hit the tab key here. What I see here, it's basically their operations. The operations are, I can able to set the root logger, I can able to assign a handler, unassign a handler. As you can see here, root logger assign handler, root logger unassign a handler. I can able to remove the root logger if I want to. I can remove it. So remove root logger. Change the root log level. Root log level, I can change the log level too. So these are a couple of things I can do using the CLI. So by default, any system of packages or Java packages does not have a specific logger predefined. They basically will inherit from the root logger. So every other applications or packages or whatnot or subsystem will inherit from the root logger by default, unless you have a logger it's configured. The next thing we have here is a lab. Part of this lab, let me give you a high level what you're planning on doing part of this lab. You'll be creating a script using CLI, part of the unit CLI. We went through CLI. You're actually going to run a CLI script, as you can see here at size rotating log.cli, and you're going to start a batch and run as a batch itself. And you're going to cd2 profile default subsystem logging and create a handler first, a size rotating file handler, file by size. You're going to create the handler and then send it to the file is going to be production server log. And then also you're going to create a logger. So a handler you're going to create, and a logger you're going to create. This is a JBoss.log.test, an application that you'll be deploying. Once the application deploy, this application is going to send all the log events, info or high level log events, as you can see here, part of adding the info or higher level. It's going to send it to the handler file by size. You're going to send it to this particular handler. So you'll be deploying this application part of the lab. So under the runtime here, your log test application, you'll be deploying it, and you'll be deploying it part of the dev group. For example, under the server here, host to the dev server 1, part of the dev group, you'll be deploying this application, and you'll be testing the application by hitting reload, and it'll produce the log event. So here log test run 280, as you can, that's your dev server 1 HTTP port. And once you access the application, keep hitting the reload, it's going to produce the log events to this production server log. So part of the dev server 1 server dev server, anytime you access the application, it's going to produce the log events here in the production server log. Going back here, take a look at your configurations. Under your profiles, default logging, log category JBoss log test. This is part of the script. You create this logger, and then here it's actually setting it to the handler file by size handler. So that's part of the logger configuration, and also you'll create the handler file by size handler. You'll create that. So all that's going to be done part of the script itself. So creating the handler under the profile default logging subsystem, the handler file by size, and also the logger JBoss log test, and setting to this handler. All that you configuring using the CLI script. And for the purpose of the lab, in order to create this, thus creating the handler, instead of you typing it in using the CLI way, you can actually use the CLI GUI option. So here how you launch the CLI GUI, JBoss-CLI-C controller localhost, depending on the port that you're using, 999, which is the default one. I'm using a different server here. A --GUI, that option will actually give you the CLI GUI one. And here under CLI GUI, it basically, you learn part of Unit 5, allows you to create or compose your CLI command. And if I go into the subsystem, for example, subsystem logging, and then I want to create this size rotating file handler, select the one with an equal sign asterisk, right click and click add, and it'll give me the little pop-up dialog box. As I type things in here, for example, it's going to end up creating, as you can notice here, it's going to compose that command for you. Just type in something random here, but it's going to compose that command for you. That's what you're going to end up heading, cut and pasting in the script itself. So you don't submit that, rather you're going to write, copy and paste it in this CLI script file. So you have to type that in, fill those in, and then appropriately according to the example that's provided, part of the instruction. And once you do that, you can able to run it as a one single script. So that's actually concludes this Unit 7.